Dubai. The name itself conjures a very specific image, a meticulously crafted brand identity broadcast to the world. It sells the dream of the future, today. A city that seems to have sprung fully formed from the desert sands, a testament to sheer will and ambition. It's a landscape of superlatives, the world's tallest building piercing the clouds, sprawling malls that contain entire worlds within them, from colossal aquariums to indoor ski slopes where you can escape the desert heat. It's a playground for the global elite, a hub of international finance, and a magnet for tourists seeking unparalleled luxury. The streets gleam with supercars at red lights, each one a symbol of the immense wealth concentrated here. But this dazzling spectacle of progress and prosperity is only one side of the story. Because every shiny skyline, no matter how tall, throws a shadow. Today, I'm stepping into that shadow. This isn't about singling out or dunking on one city. It's about understanding the full cost of creating a modern metropolis at such a breakneck pace. It's about looking at what the postcards and the glossy marketing brochures intentionally leave out. First, let's talk about the engine behind the boom. The human engine. An estimated 90% of Dubai's population are expatriates, and the vast majority of those are low-wage migrant workers, primarily from South and Southeast Asia and parts of Africa. They are the hands that built this city, the ones who pour the concrete, clean the hotel rooms, and drive the taxis. For decades, Dubai's phenomenal growth has run on this seemingly endless supply of labor. The journey for many begins with a promise of good wages, a better life for their families back home. To chase this dream, many take on substantial loans, often from informal lenders at exorbitant interest rates, to pay recruitment fees. These fees, which are illegal under UAE law for employers to charge, are frequently passed on to the worker by recruiters in their home country. They arrive in Dubai already in a state of debt bondage, their first several months or even years of salary already spoken for. For years, the system governing this relationship was known as kafala, an Arabic word for sponsorship. In practice, it was a system that tied a worker's legal residency and visa directly to a single employer, their kafil or sponsor. This created a severe power imbalance. If you wanted to change jobs, you needed your sponsor's permission. If you left without it, you could be reported for absconding, making you an undocumented immigrant subject to fines, detention, and deportation. This system effectively trapped many workers in exploitative situations. To its credit, the UAE has acknowledged these issues and has undertaken significant labor reforms in recent years. The most rigid aspects of the kafala system have been dismantled. New laws introduced fixed-term contracts, giving workers the legal right to change jobs after their contract period without needing their employer's consent. The government implemented the Wage Protection System, an electronic tracking mechanism that requires companies to pay workers through approved banks and financial institutions, creating a digital trail to combat wage theft. New laws also explicitly prohibit discrimination based on race, color, or nationality. On paper, these are substantial steps forward. That's progress. But in practice, human rights organizations and worker testimonies reveal a persistent gap between law and enforcement. Employers still hold significant leverage. They manage the renewal of residency paperwork and health insurance. The threat of filing an absconding report, even if legally more constrained now, still looms. And while passport confiscation is illegal, reports suggest it still happens, with employers claiming to hold them for safekeeping. Now imagine your boss is holding your passport. Your residency status depends on them, and you're thousands of dollars in debt. How free are you really to complain about unpaid overtime or unsafe conditions? How free are you to walk away? And some of the most vulnerable remain carved out. The main labor law reforms do not fully apply to domestic workers, nannies, cooks, and cleaners working in private homes. They are covered by a separate, weaker law that leaves them isolated, and more susceptible to abuse, with long working hours and limited oversight behind closed doors. Then there's life off the clock. The living conditions for many construction and manual laborers are a world away from the luxury they help build. They are often housed in large labor camps, like Sonapur, located on the industrial outskirts of the city, far from the glitter. Here, overcrowding is common, with multiple men sharing small rooms, offering limited privacy and sanitation. The daily routine involves long commutes, often an hour or more each way, packed onto buses that ferry them from the city's periphery to its core and back again, eating into their precious rest time. And then there is the heat, the brutal, suffocating summer heat of the Arabian Gulf. While the UAE has a mandatory midday break rule during the hottest months, workers still endure grueling 12-hour shifts in temperatures that can soar past 45 degrees Celsius. The physical toll of this labor, year after year, is immense and often goes unrecorded. And if you try to organize for better conditions? The legal framework is clear. Independent trade unions and strikes are effectively illegal. While committees for collective bargaining are permitted under certain conditions, the power to collectively withhold labor, the fundamental tool for workers' rights globally, is not an option. Protesting can lead to job loss, arrest, and deportation. Zooming out from labor, we see a broader pattern of control over rights and expression. The UAE is an autocratic system, a federation of monarchies. Public criticism of the state, its rulers, its policies, or religion can land you in serious trouble under broad and vaguely worded laws concerning national security and public order. The media is heavily filtered, with both state-owned and private outlets practicing self-censorship. And surveillance is among the most sophisticated in the world, creating a chilling effect on free speech, even in private conversations. This restrictive environment affects everyone, not just citizens. Laws criminalizing same-sex relations mean LGBTQ+ residents and visitors face the risk of prosecution. While significant reforms have been made to personal status laws, particularly regarding divorce and inheritance, women still navigate discriminatory remnants within the legal system. And for tourists and new expats, the cultural and legal lines can be confusing. Rules around public displays of affection or the consumption of alcohol, while relaxed in recent years, can still trip up newcomers, leading to fines or arrest. These aren't just abstract issues. They have real-world consequences we can see in recent snapshots. In the lead-up to the COP28 climate conference in 2023, a major global event focused on a sustainable future. Investigations by human rights groups found that migrant workers on projects linked to the site were still subjected to illegal recruitment fees, had their wages withheld, and their passports confiscated. In early 2024, a mass trial saw dozens of Bangladeshi workers convicted following protests over unpaid wages. Rights groups raised serious concerns about due process and access to legal counsel, with some of the workers later being deported. And when unprecedented rainfall and extreme floods hit the UAE in April 2024, the disparity was stark. Cleanup crews and resources were rapidly deployed to restore the glamorous tourist districts and main arteries, while in the lower-income neighborhoods and labor camps, residents reported being left for days with stagnant, contaminated water, facing property loss and disease risks. Now, let's turn to the environment. Building a metropolis in a desert has a profound ecological cost. Mega-projects like the famous Palm Jumeirah and the World Islands require dredging millions of tons of sand from the sea floor. This process smothers coral reefs, destroys marine habitats, and permanently alters coastal currents. In a place with virtually no natural freshwater, life is sustained by desalination, an incredibly energy-intensive process that burns fossil fuels to make seawater drinkable. The byproduct is a hot, excessively salty brine that is pumped back into the Gulf, harming marine ecosystems that are already under stress from rising sea temperatures. Then there's the energy needed to make the city habitable. The constant, year-round air conditioning in every building, car, and bus stop. The blazing lights that keep the skyline glittering 24/7. And the non-stop construction, a cycle of demolition and rebuilding that consumes vast amounts of energy and resources. All of this adds up. The UAE has one of the highest per capita carbon footprints in the world. While the country has made ambitious investments in solar power and has set a net zero target for 2050, the fundamental model of resource-intensive growth in an extreme climate presents a monumental challenge. Look, it's crucial to see this picture with nuance. Dubai is real ambition, made concrete and glass. It represents a vision for a post-oil economy and has provided opportunities for millions. The recent legal reforms are not insignificant, and there are many companies that strive to provide fair and ethical working conditions. But the full story, the complete accounting, must include the deep-seated power imbalances, the restrictions on fundamental freedoms, and the immense ecological costs that underpin this growth. The glamour and the hardship are two sides of the same coin. So what does this mean for us? If you're investing in Dubai, it means conducting due diligence on the labor practices within your supply chains. If you're traveling there, it means looking beyond the five-star resorts and understanding the context of the place you're visiting. And if you're just admiring it from afar, posting that perfect skyline shot, it means taking a moment to ask the critical questions. Who built this? Under what conditions? Who benefits the most from this spectacle? And who is paying the hidden bill? Because a city's true greatness isn't just measured by the height of its towers or the brightness of its lights. It's measured by its humanity. It's measured by whether everyone living in its shadow, especially those who laid the very foundations of its success, gets a fair and dignified shot at the light.